Namaskar, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Pradeep Gokhale from Central University of Tibetan Studies, Sarnath. The title of the present module is Dignaga's Theory of the Triple Character of Hetu, the Jaina and Buddhist Critique. The module has been written by me. In the previous module, we considered the Nyaya critique of Dignaga's theory of triple character of Hetu. Now, the Nyaya criticism can be described as a kind of emendation of the triple character model. Dignaga's triple character model, or the revised fivefold character model of the Naiyayikas, was meant to give a kind of empirical assurance that Sadhya would exist in Paksha. But these models did not give a formal guarantee that a Sadhya must exist. So, under which conditions can such a formal guarantee be given? This was the question. And this was the concern of some Jaina logicians and also of Buddhist logician Dharmakirti. Now, this gave rise to a different type of critique of the theory of triple character, which had implications for the theory of fivefold character also. The Jaina critique was more radical and devastating. Though Dharmakirti went to the root of the matter, he presented his critique more as a reconstruction of Dignaga's framework than its criticism. The present lesson will discuss the two critiques and their implications for the five condition model suggested by the Naiyayikas. Now, in Jainism, we find that from Siddhasena Divakara onwards, that is, who belong to 5th and 6th century, we find a serious concern among Jaina logicians regarding the nature of inference. It was partly inspired by Dignaga. For example, Jaina logicians included the distinction between Swarthanumana and Pararthanumana. Then they talked about fallacies of Paksha, Hetu and Drishtanta, and also the notions of Sadhanabhasa and Dushanabhasa. But the Jaina model also deviated from Dignaga's theory of inference in an important respect. Instead of accepting the triple character of Hetu, it introduces the notion of Anyatha Anupapatti as the defining feature of good Hetu. And this notion of Anyatha Anupapatti we find actually in Purva Mimamsa, where the Arthapatti Pramana is described or is defined in terms of Anyatha Anupapatti, which means non-explicability otherwise. Now, what happens in Arthapatti? Some phenomenon is given, suppose we call it P, and the knower finds that this given phenomenon cannot be explained unless one accepts another phenomenon, namely Q. Now, in this way, Q is established on the basis of P, where the relation between P and Q is that of Anyatha Anupapatti. That is, P is not explicable without Q. Now, Jaina logicians might have found that the same relation of Anyatha Anupapatti must obtain between the probans and probandum in an inference. For example, the knower sees smoke on the hill, and since somehow he is convinced that the existence of smoke on the hill cannot be explained satisfactorily without accepting the existence of fire there, he infers that there must be a fire on the hill. The Jainas soon realized that this position went against Dignaga's position that Hetu should fulfill three conditions in order to imply Sadhya. The dilemma was presented by Jaina logicians in this way. If a probans fulfills the condition of non-explicability otherwise, that is Anyatha Anupapatti, then where is the need for three characteristics of the probans? And if the probans does not fulfill the condition of non-explicability otherwise, that is Anyathanupapatti, what is the use of the three characteristics of the probans? So in both ways, three characteristics of probans has no significance. So this dilemma can be presented in this way, that triple character of probans is neither necessary condition of soundness of probans, nor is it sufficient condition of the soundness of probans. So Jainas would advance their argument in two steps. First step would be that triple character is not necessary for soundness, and then second step will be that triple character is not sufficient condition of soundness. Now this first claim, that is first step, that triple character is not necessary for soundness, can have strong form or weak form. In weaker form, one may say that all the three conditions stated by Dignaga are not necessary for a sound probans, though a few could be. And stronger form of this first step would be that none of the three conditions is necessary. And we find that Jainas go by the stronger claim. So they try to show that none of the three conditions are necessary for the soundness of probans. So we can go step by step. The first condition is that hetu should be property of the subject, that paksha sattva, existence in paksha. Now Jainas claim that existence in paksha is not a necessary condition, and they give a counter example to show how it is not necessary. And the example is the constellation Shakata will arise since the constellation Krittika has arisen. Now in this inference, the two constellations do not appear in the same location of the sky, nor do they arise at the same time. So there is no common locus and common time also, but they are so related with each other that Jainas claim the rise of one cannot be explained without accepting the other. Hence, the inference of one on the basis of the other becomes sound. Another example is there must be a moon in the sky as the moon's reflection is seen in the pond. Here also the loci of probans and probandum are different and remote, because moon is in the sky and the reflection is in the pond. But the inference becomes sound, because we can say that the moon's reflection in the pond cannot be explained without accepting the existence of the moon in the sky. So in both these examples, the condition of paksha sattva is violated, even then the inference is sound or the probans is sound. Now let us come to the second condition, that is existence in sapaksha. Jainas would claim that existence in sapaksha is not necessary. For example, let us consider the counter example that they give. Sound is impermanent because it is audible. Now in this inference, the probans, namely audibility, does not exist in sapaksha, because what is sapaksha here? Impermanent things other than sound. And audibility does not exist in impermanent things other than sound, because only sound is audible. In spite of this, the probans is the indicator of the probandum according to Jainas, because they would argue, what after all is audibility? Audibility means knowability through auditory cognition. But auditory cognition grasps sound because it arises from sound. So, if sound were eternal, then it would not be able to produce auditory cognition at all. Hence, sound in order to be audible must be impermanent. So in this way, impermanence of sound follows analytically from its audibility. So there is a necessary relation, the relation of anyatha anupapatti between audibility and impermanence. But sapaksha sattva, existence in sapaksha, this condition is violated, and even then the probans is sound. And now we come to the third condition, namely non-existence in vipaksha. According to Jainas, this third condition is also not necessary. Now this condition, non-existence in vipaksha, can be interpreted in two ways: as internal negation or as external negation of the existence of probans in vipaksha. So existence of probans in vipaksha is negated. It can be negated in two ways, internally or externally. Now consider the statement, hetu exists in vipaksha. It can be negated in at least two ways. One is internal negation, that is, hetu is absent from vipaksha, which means vipaksha exists but hetu does not reside in it. This is one type of negation. The other type of negation can be called external negation. That is, hetu exists in vipaksha is negated externally, which means that it is not the case that hetu exists in vipaksha. This implies that either vipaksha does not exist at all, or if it exists, then hetu does not exist in it. So here the possibility that vipaksha does not exist at all is included in external negation, but it is not included in internal negation. There the existence of vipaksha is assumed. Now the internal negation presupposes the existence of vipaksha but denies the existence of hetu in it. On the other hand, the external negation does not presuppose the existence of vipaksha. It accepts the non-existence of vipaksha as one of the possibilities. When Dignaga asserted that vipakshe asattvam eva, non-existence in vipaksha, definite non-existence in vipaksha, as one of the conditions of a sound hetu, for him it was internal negation. That means he assumed the existence of vipaksha and then asserted that hetu does not exist in vipaksha. And when Jainas deny it as a necessary condition of a sound probans, they deny it in that sense. In other words, the Jainas are saying that the probans can be sound even if vipaksha does not exist at all. And the example of this is everything is momentary because it is real. This is of course the example that Buddhists would give. Now in this inference, everything is paksha. And since there is nothing outside everything, there is no sapaksha and no vipaksha in this inference. Only paksha exists, everything. Hence, the condition that hetu should be absent from vipaksha is not fulfilled in this inference because vipaksha does not exist at all. Yet the Buddhists would regard this inference as sound. So this inference is called sarva pakshaka anumana, and sarva pakshaka anumana is possible according to Buddhists as well as Jainas. Now Buddhists would say that here when we say everything is momentary because it is real, the realness, sat, sathood, is defined as arthakriya karitva, that is being causally efficacious. And in this way you can derive momentariness by analyzing this idea of arthakriya karitva. Now this is, as I said, the example that Buddhists would give, but Jainas also give a parallel example where vipaksha does not exist at all because the anumana is about everything as paksha. So they would say everything is non-absolute, everything is anekanta because it is real. Now the Jainas derive the non-absolute nature, anekanta nature of everything from its realness by a similar method. Because for them, what is Sat? Sat means Utpada Vyaya Dravya Yuktam Sat. Sat is that which has origination, destruction and also permanence. So in this way, the seemingly contradictory characteristics can coincide, can coexist in a real thing, and therefore non-absoluteness of a real thing analytically follows from this particular feature. Now the point that Jainas are making here is that in such inferences, the relation between probans and probandum is internal relation, what they call antarvyapti, and it can be justified independently of sapaksha and vipaksha. So there can be necessary relation, internal relation, antarvyapti type of relation between probans and probandum, which is independent of sapaksha and vipaksha, and therefore without fulfilling the conditions or independently of fulfilling the conditions of sapaksha sattva and vipaksha asattva, a probans can be sound. That is what Jainas are arguing here. Now, as I said, this vipaksha asattva can be interpreted in two ways. One is we can interpret it as internal negation, or we can interpret it as external negation. Now, if we interpret it as external negation, then the non-existence of vipaksha is also permitted there, and then the external negation would mean that if at all vipaksha exists, then hetu does not exist in it, and or maybe that vipaksha does not exist at all. So in this way, if we interpret vipaksha asattva in this way, then this idea of vipaksha asattva, non-existence in vipaksha, will be equivalent to the condition of avinabhava or anyatha anupapatti. That is, hetu, here we are saying, here we are not just saying that hetu happens to be non-existent in vipaksha, but we are saying that hetu cannot exist in vipaksha, and therefore this becomes equivalent to anyatha anupapatti. So this was the first step, that the triple character of probans is not necessary for soundness of a probans. Now we take the second step, that is Jainas take the second step, that triple character of probans is not sufficient condition of soundness, which means that it is possible that a particular inference may fulfill triple character, may fulfill all the three conditions of good hetu, sound probans, but in spite of that, the hetu may not be sound. So we find that in the history of Jainism, when the scholars like Prabhachandra Suri, Vadideva Suri, they argue for this, and they give counter examples of inferences where we can say that the inference fulfills all the three conditions, but the inference is not acceptable as sound inference. The example Prabhachandra gives is the Buddha is non-omniscient because he is a speaker like a man on the street. Now, in this inference, Jainas argue that being a speaker is the probans which fulfills all the three conditions, namely existence in paksha, existence in sapaksha, and non-existence in vipaksha. Even then, the inference is fallacious. Of course, it is fallacious, it would be fallacious according to Buddhists, because they would say that being a speaker does not necessarily imply being non-omniscient. That is, there is no necessary relation, there is no relation of anyatha anupapatti between being a speaker and being non-omniscient. There are other examples. For example, somebody sees a branch of a tree, and he has eaten some fruits from that branch, and all of them were ripe, and then he infers about the remaining fruits that these fruits are ripe because they belong to the branch B, like the eaten fruits, of the same branch. Here, the hetu exists in paksha, that is because these fruits belong to branch B. Hetu exists in sapaksha, at least in a part of sapaksha, that is the eaten fruits, all of which happen to be ripe, belong to this branch. Then the hetu does not exist in vipaksha, since all the other fruits of branch B were ripe. No unripe fruits other than these fruits, whose status is doubtful, belong to branch B. Hence, the hetu fulfills all the three conditions, but the hetu is not sufficient to prove the sadhya, because it can be explained without accepting the sadhya. That is, a fruit can belong to branch B without being ripe. This possibility is not ruled out by this inference. Then another inference, Devadatta is stupid because of being Yajnadatta's son, like the other sons of Yajnadatta. So somebody knows that, suppose Yajnadatta has 3 sons and all of them are stupid, and then he is told that now Yajnadatta has given birth to one more son and his name is Devadatta. Then somebody infers that, Devadatta must be stupid because he is Yajnadatta's son, like other sons of Yajnadatta. Now here also we can say that hetu, that is being Yajnadatta's son, exists in paksha, namely Devadatta. It exists in a part of sapaksha, because other sons of Yajnadatta, all of whom happen to be stupid, that is the sapaksha here, and being Yajnadatta's son, this hetu exists in sapaksha, and this hetu is also absent from vipaksha. Now what is vipaksha here? The set of non-stupid beings other than Devadatta. So those other beings do not happen to be the sons of Yajnadatta, and therefore hetu is absent from vipaksha. So in spite of all this, you can say that this hetu, namely being Yajnadatta's son, is not sufficient to prove the stupidity of Devadatta. There is no explanatory impossibility in thinking that Yajnadatta's son may not be stupid. So this was the Jaina critique of the triple character theory. Jainas point out that these 3 characteristics of probans are neither necessary nor sufficient for the soundness of probans. Now, as I said, it is a kind of a radical critique or devastating critique, whereas Dharmakirti also emphasizes a kind of necessary relation between hetu and sadhya, like Jainas, but Dharmakirti does not offer a kind of radical or devastating critique of triple character theory. Rather, he reconstructs this triple character theory of Dignaga by introducing the notion of necessity, by incorporating the notion of necessity within this triple character theory itself. And he does this by interpreting the term Nishchita, which means determinate or certain. So Dharmakirti interprets the word Nishchitam as referring to the binding relation, that is pratibandha, between probans and probandum established through pramanas. So while explaining the significance of the term Nishchitam, Dharmakirti in Hetubindu says, we have used the word Nishchitam in order to remove the doubt by indicating that existence in similar cases and non-existence in dissimilar cases are established by the pratibandha, which establishes the binding relation. Now, pratibandha, that is a binding relation or necessary relation, is the notion central to Dharmakirti's theory of Hetu-Sadhya relation, which according to his reconstruction of the theory is at the basis of even the triple character of the probans. By the central status given to the notion of Pratibandha, Dharmakirti implied that the existence of Hetu in Sapaksha and the non-existence of Hetu in Vipaksha should not amount to a contingent relation between Hetu and Sadhya, but it should be based on the necessary relation between them. So, existence in Sapaksha in this way was replaced by what can be called Anvaya Vyapti, and non-existence in Vipaksha was replaced by Vyatireka Vyapti. So, Anvaya and Vyatireka become the two aspects of the universal and necessary Vyapti relation, implying each other. So, according to Dharmakirti, they imply each other. In this way, because Anvaya and Vyatireka imply each other, that is, Sapaksha Sattva and Vipaksha Asattva, if they are interpreted as two forms of or two manifestations of necessary relation, then they imply each other, and in this way it is not necessary to actually accept all the three conditions. We can reduce the triple character to two characteristics, namely Vyapti and Paksha Dharmata. So, Paksha Sattva Dharmakirti interpreted as what is called Paksha Dharmata, that is being the property of Paksha, and the other two conditions, namely Sapaksha Sattva and Vipaksha Asattva, were reduced to what is called Vyapti. So, Dharmakirti in this way replaced Dignaga's triple character model, which was the model of strong analogical reasoning, by the Vyapti Paksha Dharmata model, which was the model of sound deductive reasoning based on the universal Vyapti relation. However, he did all this without officially deviating from Dignaga. He did not say that Dignaga was wrong and I am replacing his theory by another theory, but he said that this is the theory which actually Dignaga had in mind, and I am just making it more clear and manifest. Now, this is about the critique of triple character of Provence as introduced by Dignaga. Now, as I said, Naiyayikas tried to expand Dignaga's theory. They tried to suggest that the three characteristics are not sufficient, we have to add two more characteristics, and in this way they converted this Trairupya model into Pancharupa model. But their critique of Trairupya model was not radical, or it was not, it did not go to the root of the matter, we can say, and therefore the criticism of Trairupya or the reconstruction of Trairupya, which was introduced by Jainas and Buddhists, was applicable to the Pancharupa model of Nyaya also. So, Dharmakirti's notion of a binding relation between Hetu and Sadhya and the Jaina notion of Anyatha Anupapatti as the single character of Provence are conceptually close to each other. The only difference is that the Jainas arrived at this notion as a replacement of the triple character model, whereas Dharmakirti arrived at his notion by a reconstruction of the triple character theory. Now, once the notion of necessary relation becomes central to the frame of inference, inference assumes a formally valid shape. In the light of this notion of formally valid inference, it becomes possible for the Jainas and the Buddhists to examine the Nyaya theory of fivefold character of Hetu. That is because the Naiyayikas, by arguing the triple character model by two more characteristics, tried to make it materially stronger, but still it fell short of formally valid and sound inference. And the Jaina and Buddhist criticisms of the fivefold character model of Nyaya therefore has a common feature. And therefore now we can ask, is Nyaya addition of the two characteristics, namely Abhadhita Vishayatva and Asat Pratipakshatva, is this addition acceptable? So with reference to Abhadhita Vishayatva, By introducing this, Naiyayikas succeeded in showing that Badhita as a fallacy is possible, although Hetu may possess all the three conditions stipulated by Dignaga. But now, if the triple character condition is replaced by a condition such as non-explicability without sadhya, or a binding or necessary relation which is called pratibandha, then if a hetu possesses this newly interpreted condition, then that such a hetu becomes a sufficient condition of the probandum, and hence the possibility of badhita as a separate fallacy is ruled out. So that is how Dharmakirti criticizes badhita hetvabhasa and abadhita vishayatva as the additional characteristic of hetu, when he says badha vina bhavayoho virodhat, that is sublation and invariable concomitance, there is virodha between them, they do not go together. If there is invariable concomitance between hetu and sadhya, then the existence of sadhya in paksha cannot be falsified by any means, and therefore badha will not be possible at all. If on the other hand the existence of sadhya in paksha is falsified by some authentic means, that is, if suppose we point out that there is badha, then it is a clear indication of the fact that there is no invariable concomitance. So if badha is there, then there is no invariable concomitance. If badha is not there, then there will be invariable concomitance, and therefore if we emphasize this notion of invariable concomitance, then separate mention of badha as a possibility or abadhita vishayatva as an additional condition becomes superfluous, unnecessary. Similarly, now in this context, we can examine pratyaksha badhita, which was introduced by Naiyayikas. We saw in the previous module that Naiyayikas gave this example of badhita, namely fire compound is not hot because it is a product like earth compound. Now the Naiyayikas claim that the probans being a product fulfills the condition of triple character, but still it is fallacious because the non-hotness of fire is falsified by tactual perception. Jaina logicians would say, or Dharmakirti would say, that the above inference is actually fallacious not because of the sublation of the probandum, but it is fallacious because there is no necessary relation between being a product and being non-hot. So Jainas would say that there is no anyatha anupapatti condition fulfilled there, and therefore it is fallacious. Dharmakirti would say that there is no necessary relation, there is no pratibandha type of relation between being a product and being non-hot, and because of the absence of such a relation, this inference is fallacious. So that this inference is fallacious would be acceptable by both, but in order to explain the fallacious character of this inference, we have to accept a different type of fallacy, namely badha. This was the Nyaya argument. This is not acceptable to Jainas and Buddhists. Now similarly, with reference to the fifth characteristic which Naiyayikas introduce, namely asat pratipakshatva, similar problem would arise, and on similar lines Jainas and Buddhists would criticize the mention of this so-called additional fallacy and acceptance of this additional condition. Now we have seen that sat pratipakshatva is actually is anticipated. It was anticipated by Dignaga by introducing viruddha vyabhichari as a kind of fallacy, and in Dignaga's framework of inference, this was a kind of anaikantika fallacy, and here Dignaga was saying that here there are two hetus which fulfill all the three conditions, but they imply sadhya which sadhyas rather, that is one hetu and the other pratihetu, they imply two different sadhyas which are opposed to each other. And in this situation, a kind of doubt or inconclusiveness arises. Now, if we replace this triple character condition by universal invariable concomitance, or if we interpret this single condition as anyathanupapatti type of condition or as a kind of binding relation, then what will be the status of viruddha vyabhichari, what will be the status of asat pratipakshatva or asat pratipaksha hetvabhasa? This is really the problem. And the Buddhists and Jainas would point out that if in one hetu we have universal necessary relation between hetu and sadhya, then the counter hetu is not possible at all. And if counter hetu is possible, then this only implies that there is no necessary relation between the earlier hetu, between hetu and sadhya in the earlier inference. So, asat pratipakshatva need not be accepted as an independent, as an additional characteristic. Now, let us come to the example. Naiyayikas give the example of Sat Pratipaksha as sound is eternal because it is audible like soundness. And then the counter inference is sound is non-eternal because it is a product like a pot. Now, according to Naiyayikas, the inference is fallacious because although the probans possesses all the three conditions, it is countered by a counter probans which is equally possesses the three characteristics. But Jaina logicians and Dharmakirti would not accept this explanation. According to them, the inference is fallacious not because of the availability of counter probans, but because of the absence of a necessary relation between audibility as a probans and eternality as sadhya.